back, gearheads. Today I'm going to show you the cheapest, fastest, and easiest way to get your stock unmodified LS harness running on your next swap project. What I'm about to show you is simple. We're talking easier than installing a radio in your car. It's just 2 wires. But before we get started, make sure that you have a PCM flashed to remove the VATS system, the Vehicle Anti-Theft System. It's got to be flashed out of the computer or it's not going to work. Also remember to be safe. Safety is always first. And if you decide to run your own engine on your engine stand at home, I take no responsibility. I don't recommend it. You shouldn't do it. But I know some of you are going to do it anyways. And for those that do, be safe. Don't forget to put the pin in the engine stand. The thing will rotate. Ask my buddy Zane.
God damn it, Mark. I switched posts. Now I think it's fucked up because it's, I don't know, it just doesn't want to do shit. I don't know, watch. This is all it does. Woo! That was something different. All right. Hold on.
Hey, that was funny. Thankfully nobody got hurt, but y'all remember that and be safe. I'll start by going over the engine test stand. I got a eBay Honda radiator there on the ground. I'm going to mount that in front so that I can run this engine longer, as long as I would like to. Make sure to test the head gaskets and get it up to operating temperature. What I've done to help secure it and keep it stable, I put 2 feet in the front here. I bolted to the motor mount spot on the block. You come up and it sits on the engine stand. For fuel, I use one of these fuel injection cleaners. I just force the fuel into the rail. These work off of air pressure. You hook up air hose here. And these are great for fuel injection cleaning, period, or keeping your injectors clean. This, you can make your own concoction to put in there or buy some, and it puts a concentrated injector cleaner into the rail. You turn off your fuel pump if it's in the vehicle, run it off this, and it helps to open up your injectors. I've cured misfires for this with this and brought injectors back to life. So that's how I give it fuel. This is how I help keep it stable. I used to run it without actual front supports even, but that was a little sketchy watching it bob around. I used to run it without exhaust on it, but now I have exhaust. That helps keep it more tolerable and not scare the kids or the neighbors. It's still a work in progress. I don't have a tray for the battery yet or for the PCM, but that's basically it. For the fuel rail, I just looped it together for now. I can control the fuel pressure down there on that test tool. Any open vacuum ports, of course, you're going to want to plug, because that'll be a vacuum leak and it won't run very well. You do not have to have the MAF for the engine to run, nor the oxygen sensors. I got one just hanging there, but it's not plugged in. There's not many that are critical. I can't actually make a list of the sensors that are critical, but I can tell you one right now is the crank sensor. A lot of people forget that. It's hidden behind the starter. I don't think you can see it, but that's what this wire goes to. It goes to the crank sensor. Without that plugged in, the computer doesn't know the engine's rotating, so it's not going to start. TPS, IAC. MAP is an important one that's easy to miss. Once your MAP sensor plugged in, MAP. Probably don't need the NOx sensors plugged in. Coils, of course your injectors are down there. But this harness is unmodified. This is a 2001 truck harness. There's nothing done to it. Of course, I've started butchering some of it because I'd like to go through it and actually dress it up. But what I did was just cut off the trans plug. My buddy needed a trans plug, so that's cut off there. Don't need that for the engine to run. But I have not modified this harness to work independently. All I did was keep the fuse block from the truck, and I'm going to show you what you have to do. So you got this main terminal here, this main power terminal on the fuse block. That's one wire. And the other one is over here. Let me get a better view of it. This block is considered C1, so it's labeled as. And the only wire you need out of that is pin A9. That's the one you see right here, this dark colored wire running to the side. It's because I ran it to the side so I could give it power. If you don't have that plug from the donor truck, you can run straight to that terminal. To whatever way you want to connect to that terminal. But all you gotta do is reach A9, unplug C1, and give it power. That acts as the ignition switch. So right now I've got it just dangling down the side, ran to this alligator clip here. So whenever I give power to this, it's the same thing as turning the ignition on, like this. You hear the relays click on? That was the fuel pump relay. Listen again. Heard it click off. That was trying to prime the fuel pump. That's it, just those two wires. So you've got the main power wire. This powers up all the relays and all the crap on the fuse block. That right there is the other end of this. I'm gonna try this again for you where it's a little bit more clear, because of course the stock harness is bulky and ugly. I do have the OBD2 port hanging here, but you can just ignore that. We're not going to cover that today. But that's the stock fuse block. Usually most people will just unscrew it from here and have just the harness without the fuse block. This is the back side of it. So if you did that and you don't have this plug, you can go straight onto a wire, like I was saying earlier, right onto A9, pin A9. So what I've done, just to help me get to it easier, taking that one wire, ran it to the side. The rest of them here are taped up. Nothing's done with them, just plugged up. I did this to make it easier to get to that terminal, and I had the plug. So I got to run over here through this little loop here, and this is the wire. If you give this wire power, that's like turning the key on. That's the ignition wire. You give it power, it energizes as if you're about to start it, turns on the relays, it's ready to run. And I'll show you how I do it right now temporarily. I plan to put a switch and actually mount a switch here so I can do this easier later. But I have this little jumper wire, fused jumper wire. I use this for testing things, electrical. Should be soldered, look a lot better, but that's that. I'll take one end and hook it up to that wire I showed you, A9 on block C1, and take the other end and just give it power. That, having the VATS removed from the computer when it was flashed, and then also having the main power wire coming onto the fuse block right there, and it runs. That's it. And I'll do that for you again right now. See that terminal? It's just ran down to the side. Some of you may wonder, how am I starting the starter? I got this thing a long time ago, probably at O'Reilly's, where if you pull the trigger, it rotates the engine over. All it is basically a switch. It jumps, it's ran down to the starter. I'll show you where it's at. All it does is jump the starter solenoid wire, which will usually come from your ignition switch, over to the power cable coming into the starter. That's all that does. You don't have to have that. You can make your own switch to go there. I just do it because it's comfortable, fun, easy, right? All right, back to it. We have the harness, nothing modified, just that one wire sticking out that we're about to give power to. And I put it there just to hold it still for me. Go ahead and clip the alligator clip onto it on that end. Take the other end, and I just clip it onto right here, coming from the battery. I just clip it on right there, just like that. Once you have that on, it's ready to run. As long as you got good fuel pressure, which I don't have much fuel pressure right now since I don't have my hose hooked up. Let me grab the hose. So I'll go over the list again. We've got fuel provided, you need 60 pounds. We've got the VATS deleted from the computer when it was flashed. We've got all the vacuum ports on the intake plugged. You know, watch for that one. Make sure PCV is hooked up or plugged. The EGR is plugged. EGR is plugged. Fuel, you don't have to have exhaust on it. You don't have to have O2s on it. You don't have to have the MAF on it. It'll run with the MAF, but you don't have to have it. And then some type of switch to key over the starter. off, you just turn the ignition switch off. It's off. It's that simple, guys. I've been trying to explain this for a while on Facebook. Some people couldn't believe it would be that simple, but it is. Too easy. That's all that I have for you today. If you like what I'm doing and you want to see more, make sure to let me know by hitting the like button below. Make sure to subscribe to get notifications for my future uploads.